Greetings, methodologies of art history students. My name is Dan Seidel, and I will be your instructor through this 8-week sprint through a foundational course in graduate education in art history. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but I come to you from South Florida. I live in Fort Lauderdale. I teach modern art history, theory and criticism at the King's College, a private evangelical liberal arts college in New York City. And so I'm commuting to New York. I work with an artist based in Los Angeles. He has a studio in Culver City. I spend a considerable amount of time there collaborating with him on publishing and exhibition projects. And I've worked with him for over 20 years. I spent 10 years as a university art museum chief curator, overseeing exhibitions, curating exhibitions, working with our collection of 19th and 20th century American art, as well as working with contemporary artists. And I have I've been involved with this graduate program, with this online graduate program, for a few years, and I care about it very deeply, and I'm deeply committed to its mission, and so I appreciate the effort that you are making to continue your education. I know many of you are big girls and boys. You have families, you have careers, you are continuing your education and doing it through art history at a cost of time, of money, and I know that many of you are being able to spend time with this class only at night or on the weekends, and so I want you to know that that the assignments, what I'm going to ask you to do, we'll be mindful of that as well. So I want you to know that. My interest also is to avoid a certain busyness with online education. Online courses can tend to be lots of bells and whistles, lots of ways of looking like education is happening, but it's really not. This class, as the other classes that I teach online, undergraduate and graduate, are thinking, reading, writing classes. They aren't fill in the blank, do your busy work, check mark it, so that it looks like you've made progress. I'm interested in thinking. I'm not really all that interested in education per se. What I'm interested in is conversion. I'm interested in turning your mind and heart. I'm interested in getting at something that really turns you on, that shifts your thinking, that gives you one of those moments like, wow. And then you begin to think through that, and then you shuffle what your experience and your knowledge in relationship to that. That's what my goal is. My goal is to provide you opportunities for you to go, holy cow, that's incredible. That's what I want. This is the first time I'm teaching this class, so we're all in this boat together. I want to talk a little bit about the content of this class. This content of this class, methodologies, can be taught several different ways. One of the ways it can be taught is it is just a way of kind of applying quote-unquote theory to art history. Add a little Foucault, add a little Derrida, add a little Barthes, thinkers that are already that have already passed from the scene, that are 40 years whose ideas are 40 years old, and and more recent theorists like Zizek and Badiou and others. And you can go through the German and French theorists, whatever kind of theoretical tweak you want to add to writing about art. That's often how the class can be taught. But what I'm interested in is thinking about art history, not just about art history as writing about art, because art history isn't just writing about art. Art historical practice is a particular kind of academic discipline, and the reason, one of the things that we have to fit within, is that graduate school in art history is to teach students the methods, the practice, initiate you into the guild of what it means to be an academic art historian. So what are the parameters? What's the method for being an art historian? What does that imply? What is it? How does it approach the work of art in a particular way? And how is that different from art criticism or from art journalism or reflecting on art? To write 2 sentences or a paper on art doesn't mean that you're doing art history. What does it mean to be doing art history? And the other thing I'm fascinated by is that art history has a history. It has particular origins and influences that developed historically along with other philosophical, cultural, and economic, and material and artistic developments. It is deeply influenced by certain philosophical presumptions. It's deeply influenced by aesthetic presumptions. So what is art history if it's not philosophy and aesthetics, if it's not art criticism, if it's not meditating or free writing on a work of art? What is it? What does it do? Who are its audiences? So we'll need to look at and spend some time with the origins of the discipline. The discipline became a professional discipline in the 19th century, late in the 19th century. It emerged from archaeology, sociology, literary studies. And it emerged as a discipline, as a scientific discipline in the German sense of Wissenschaft, which is a science with particular kinds of guidelines, how you go about posing and asking art historical questions of your subject, how you think about how it is that the work that you do is analytic and objective. And how that objectivity gets manifest through different approaches and through disagreement and how it gets managed. And then questions that we'll have to explore is, what is the ultimate goal of art history? And what are its ultimate goals, in plural? Competing definitions of art history, competing versions of art history. And so then, when we have the history and the origins and the historical development, what then you realize is you're being initiated into a living thing that continues to grow and to be developed, to be influenced by. If the art historians in the late 19th century and the early 20th century were being influenced by certain philosophical and sociological and psychological, psychoanalytic innovations of thought at that time, then how is art history as a discipline being shaped today and interacting and shaping? What kind of influence is it exerting on other disciplines and thought and the economic conditions? within which art history takes place. So those are the questions that we'll be looking at and exploring. A couple words about how I'm going to conduct the class. We've moved to another online platform, Canvas, which I find to be much better than Saki, but I still want to make sure that our primary means of communication is through weekly emails. So I will send you an email at the beginning of each week. So next Monday, be ready for that first email that will give you, that will break down the information, the readings, what I'll ask you to do. It'll also include the discussion prompt that I'll want you to write. And so I'll be giving you a lot of readings. And those readings, though, are, you make decisions about how you're going to best use your time in a limited amount of time. You can't read all the readings that I'm going to be giving you, but I'm giving you them as resources. You're building your library, you're building your archive, you're building the resources that other coursework and the other work that you'll do as an art historian in whatever capacity you can return to time and time again. So these 8 weeks is just a little bit of a taste of the subject of this course, but I want to give you as much of it as possible so that you can take it with you, utilize it as you think about it, as you go through the other coursework, as you become more familiar with what it means to be an art historian, what it means to be doing art history. The main evaluation for our time together, there'll be is a final paper. In the final paper, I'll ask you to focus on an art historian or a theme or a perspective or perhaps a work of art that you might want to approach from different art historical perspectives. So it'll be your final. That'll be your final paper. You'll be evaluated also. I'll ask you to turn in a proposal for the final paper. I'll also ask you to do a midterm reflection on some ideas that that have been of particular interest to you. And then finally, the weekly discussion prompts. So we'll have, I won't ask you to do a discussion prompt for the 8th week. That'll be the week that you are working on your final paper. But for the other 7 weeks, starting next week, I'm going to give you a question, and that question I want you to answer, 200 words or so. Just a way for you to think about the material in a refined way. You can send it to me as an email, and I will respond personally. Or you can post it online, and I still have to figure out how to manage that and to be able to get that going on online. But what I'm not asking you to do is to engage in conversation with your classmates. I think it's great if you want to do that, and throughout the semester or throughout our weeks together, I'm going to try to work on getting Canvas to getting the platform to the point where there can be some interaction. But I'm not going to grade you on the interaction. What I'm going to offer you, what I want this class to offer you, is me and how I approach what I can offer for you. And so the commitment, these weekly discussion prompts, these responses are intended for you and I to work this out. And again, sharing them, posing a question. I may pose a question on Canvas on our course site and ask you to think about it. But I'm not going to grade you on it, and I'm not going to require you to comment on other colleagues' responses. All right, I think that's enough right now. I will. This isn't the last time I'll be doing this little video, and I will try to do them as thoughts arise. And please email me with any questions that you have. Included in this email is the syllabus. I'll post it online. But the main takeaway is be mindful of the Mondays. Hopefully, the Monday mornings when I get you the when I send you the email with the week's work and prompt question. I think that should be it. Also, you have the textbooks. The textbooks are these guys, Hatton Clonk and Preziosi, The Art of Art History, and this Faden publication, Open University, Francis Fresina and Jonathan Harris. Most of the readings will come from this, but I'll be sending along some PDFs of articles that I think are good resources for you. Perhaps you're not able to read them. No problem. File them away and have them on hand to be able to utilize or read at some other time. Again, 8 weeks only gives us just a bit of a taste, but I want to give you a sharp taste. I want to do something that has some kind of impact on you. So, and as an art historian, I think about what it means to be an art historian and to write about a contemporary artist's work, to be an art historian and do the kind of research I do, and what that research means, and who my audience is, and how I think about the work that I do. All of those questions are questions that are methodological questions that fit within the context of this class. So if you have any questions whatsoever about that, write me and I'll respond. All right, without any further ado, I look forward to our time together next week, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.